Hello and welcome to Sacred Democracy. Thank you for joining us for this very special show on sacred listening. And we are here today with some young folks who have joined us to answer many questions, your questions probably. I'm going to introduce them first. We have Jayden, JC, and Sage Oliver. There they are.
Hi.
And along with them, we have Elonzo Griffen. There he is over there, and there's Jerrica Russell. So you guys know we're coming from Zoom. So for me, it's sort of like looking from window to window. But I'm just so grateful that you guys agreed to add your voices to the Black Lives Matter movement. And so what we did for this show is, I know there's going to be a lot of people commenting and watching. I'm not going to look down too much. We did ask people to turn in questions ahead of time, and we got quite a number of questions. So the panel here put them in order, and we're going to go in that order, the order that they felt was most important to answer. We had 10 questions, so we might not get through all of them. If not, you can come back. You're all welcome to come back at some point. But we're going to start with number one, the question that they put as number one. Interestingly enough, it came in at number one. So the question is, how do you feel about the violence and looting at demonstrations? Does it help or hurt?
Ladies first.
I'll go ahead and take this one. I think it's necessary for the violence that's happening because people are getting hurt. Letting people know that enough is enough and that they're sick and tired of just sitting back and just trying to be peaceful the whole time, which some of the peaceful violence are getting, or some of the peaceful protests are getting heard, but a lot aren't. And so by them looting and going out and doing some of the violence, it's helping them get hurt, and that's what's needed. So I do think it helps a lot, and it's very needed.
And I just want to point out, she's 13 years old. Telling all of you viewers that I didn't tell her what to say. We didn't pre-practice what we're going to say. Out of all of us, she's a 13-year-old who chose to speak up first. So I think that stands for itself, and the importance behind why people support the violence and the looting. Obviously, we know that's not the most ideal thing. I mean, I think that's common sense and human decency that we understand that. But at the end of the day, like she said, if we're doing it peaceful, right? Example, hey, and you're not getting heard, what more do you want from us? What do you guys want? I mean, really, it's a question for people to ask themselves. If you don't want the looting and the rioting, then what can you do to stand up and make a change? You know, so that's an interesting perspective for you to say you think it helps for people to get hurt. It's sad that we have to do those things to get hurt.
Anybody else on the panel?
I like this question, and the reason why I ranked it so high is because so often we get lost on what is happening or what's going on right now, and we lose focus on what caused this to happen in the first place. Like it's a common question, or it's a conversation starter now to talk about the looting and the rioting, but use those conversations to talk about why they're doing it in the first place. There would be no need for looting or rioting if something didn't provoke it in the beginning. So that's why I like this question so much, because I love to talk about it and just to see different perspectives on it.
Right.
I was just gonna go ahead, Lon.
No, did JC want to say something before I carry on?
I had just did some research, and I saw that when they did riots and looting back then, it took $47 million of damage for them to pass an act. So I feel like that shows us, like, if you do so much to be heard, that's like outspoken and not just talking in front of people, you will be heard eventually, and something will come out of it. And I think that's why people look back on history and like, okay, well, this is what they did. Let's see where we can go with it to make a change.
Well, I as well. I like this question, and to begin with, violence is clearly what they're doing. I would like to categorize it as frustration. You now coming back towards your way. And even them sitting, there's women sitting there with posters saying, you know, hey, Black Lives Matter, you know, justice for, you know, such and such, and they're being violent. Looters, why are they looting? Let's stop asking, oh my God, blah, blah, well, what are you doing? Why would you do that? Let's now ask them, why do they need to do that? Because I walked near looters and it wasn't all Afros. It wasn't. And it was out of town people, right? They're not residers are right there. So therefore, people like to call them opportunists. Okay, that might be fine, you know, in a very professional way to put it, I guess. But why in 2020 do you feel the need to travel 13, 20, 30 miles to where all the great big stores where you know that you can go grab some stuff and sell it? And now, because of everything that's happening in this pandemic right now, also, it's now going to put some more money in your pocket. So go ahead and call them opportunists. But at the end of the day, it's survival. Are they taking advantage of a situation right now? Yes. But it's clearly explained why. And if all those women that are Persian, you know, white, Chinese, Asian descent that I seen right there looting, I think they're jumping in like, hey, you know, we've all had enough. We don't like it either. And if this is the move, then we're with you.
Right.
Excellent. Thank you, folks. That is a tough one. That's a tough one to answer. And certainly, I think with everybody, the number one question, I agree with you.
Yeah.
So,
You know, can I just say one thing before we move to next one?
Sure.
I think what sticks out the most to me, and like I said, I definitely agree with what Sage said. Why is this question number one? Why aren't people who have the opportunity to ask questions like more? Why can't it be moving in a positive direction, in a direction for a change to be made, instead of taking a step back and what can I, as a white privileged person, you could be a different race and still be privileged because your skin tone may be lighter, complected. What can you do to make a change? Instead of we're shifting our energy in the wrong areas. Instead, we want to look back at the situation and be negative about it and say, why are they doing this and why are they doing that? Why don't you say, what can I do to help them to where we don't have to be violent or we have to loot or do those things? But that's the question that we feel comfortable asking because it lets us feel like we're the bigger, better person. Oh, well, why are they doing that? Well, why aren't you doing something? And then we don't have to do those things. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's the craziest question and it's asked all the time. And I think it just shows the ignorance of America and the people that we deal with. Like the fact that that's question number one should be a reality check for yourself, you know?
Yeah. And to add on to that,
it shouldn't have to come to that. It shouldn't even. Why did we have to do that to get a point across? Like why didn't you hear us peacefully?
Yeah.
Exactly.
And to add on to that one, does it help or hurt? It helps, and it hurts us as well because it keeps the ignorance ignorant.
Exactly.
It does help.
I'm going to interject a question.
Yeah.
It isn't on the list, but just came to my mind. So do you think part of the media playing up the violence and part of the play up in social media, not just the mainstream media, is to perpetuate the stereotype?
Definitely.
100%.
Yes.
100%.
I watched the news. Sorry, girls. I watched the news just about every morning, and they showed people like, I don't think she's stealing. There goes the looters. You know, it's literally like that. I watch the news every morning. It's the media that are portraying that the stereotype of Black people steal everything when it's not only them, you know?
Yeah.
I think, I was going to say, I think, Jerrica, me and you shared one thing I want people to realize is us three, everybody on the screen has had an uncomfortable conversation with one another and their own family to find a solution for change. All right. So we're going to get into some things. Some people may feel uncomfortable, and that's so that we can have growth come out of this conversation. And me and Jerrica were able to share a conversation that I think is very important for everyone to hear. Jerrica, could you share your experience when you marched in Kansas?
I went to the Kansas City protest, I believe last Saturday. And when I was there, I went with my friends, and I really didn't know what I was getting into. I just went because I felt like I needed to. And so I went, and the peaceful people out there were African Americans. Like, it was Black people out there chanting. They had their signs, everything. And while we navigated through the crowd just to see like everything that was going on, the rowdiest people out there were not Black. The ones that were handing out water bottles, throwing them at officers, yelling their faces, were not Black. And it just seemed like they were taking advantage of a situation. And it made me upset, because that's how you lose sight on the reason for the protest in the first place. And part of me, I was hurt, because I'm like, people are out here really pouring their heart out, trying to get heard, and people are out here just taking advantage of this situation because it looks good on social media, because social media hypes things up, and we want to be like every other city. Like, that's not what the purpose was for. And that was my experience when I went.
Wow.
And the reason why I wanted her to share that is because I think it's important to hear the reality of African Americans putting themselves in positions for justice and still losing to the white privileged person, the white privileged community. I think that's something to take a step back and look at. Like, again, she said, you're going away from the whole purpose of why we're doing what we're doing. And we're getting situations where people who have platforms that could back us up choose to be silent because it's uncomfortable, or corporate versus life, and they're going to lose their job if they voice their opinion. I mean, I think it's just ridiculous that we've gotten to this point. You know what I mean? It's frustrating. And I think it says a lot for just us three. I'm frustrated already, and we're only in question 2. And I'm just being honest, but it's...
Yeah.
We're coming on here to make a change. We're not coming on here to let people know we're pointing out what they're doing wrong, but we're trying to have progression, like I said, and think solutions only. So we're bringing up these things, but I just want people to know we're not just, oh, hey, on Twitter, did you hear that Jerrica had this experience? No, we're taking our bodies, physically putting them in these situations so we can stick up for our people, and this is what we are experiencing. Like, this is a problem, It's a problem.
Lonnie, did you want to say something?
Oh, no. She was good. I was agreeing with her. She had it right on the money.
Great. Okay, so question 2. How do you respond to the assertion all lives matter? White people often say this. However, this morning I read a post by a Native American saying the same thing, with the symbol of the black, red, yellow, and white medicine wheel. Back to you.
Okay.
Ladies first.
I feel like there's 2 questions in one in this.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really get what you're asking. Are you asking from white privileged people, or are you asking from Native Americans? Because
I will say that this question, all the questions actually came from white people.
Okay.
Because I don't know. That's just the way it was.
Okay.
So I will say that I do think this person that asked this question has a lot of contact with American Indians. That would be my guess, or else how else would you know? Because we did it anonymously as you requested, or else you wouldn't know anything about what a medicine wheel symbol is, right?
Right. Okay. Well, okay. I'll let everybody know while I'm speaking. I am Native American, Caucasian, and African American. Right? That's for us. All 3 of us. And I would be wrong to be able to have the opportunity to speak in front of an audience and not speak up for my Native American people, because we have endured the worst of things from way back. And if you're educated, you're aware, right? And the reason why I don't think it's valid to bring us up right now, right, is because of this, all right? In 1968, I don't know if y'all know this. In 1968, American Indian movement was founded. Y'all want to know where it was founded at?
Where?
Minneapolis, Minnesota, the same spot that we are starting at with Black Lives Matter right now till this day, right? In 1968, if we haven't made a loud enough noise for all of America to hear Native Americans, and that's on me and my Native people. And that is not to bring up in discussion today, because we're not talking about Native American people. We are talking about African American people who are mistreated, who are not treated the same as every other individual that walks this earth. So it's obvious my people matter. My sisters matter. Our elders matter. My grandma, she's Native American, Caddo Tribe of Oklahoma. She matters. And we know that. But my Black brothers and sisters and cousins and aunts and uncles can't even leave their house and travel somewhere without fear that they're not going to make it there in one piece. So that's irrelevant right now. We know all lives matter, but the importance is Black lives right now. So, I mean, yes, you can incorporate and talk about it, because at the end of the day, that's a discussion. That's another problem in America, right? But that is not this problem in America at this exact moment, you know?
Yep. To go off what you said, I saw a post and I thought it was perfect with what Jayden said. It was a little Black African American girl. She said, "We said Black Lives Matter. Never said only Black Lives Matter. We know all lives matter. We just need your help with hashtag Black Lives Matter, for Black lives are in danger right now."
Yeah, I saw that post too. And I just want to say that, you know, I read, this was before this particular incident, but the first time that this whole movement started, I read an article by a guy pointing out that you know, during the Vietnam War, we were focused on ending the war. Of course, there were a lot of other social injustice issues going on, but the group of us that were focused on ending the war were focused on that. The group that was focused on the civil rights movement were focused on that. And in this case, we are focused on this. And the point of the article was that he said the most successful movements throughout time and history are the ones that have a focus. That if the focus is lost, people don't really understand what's going on. If it gets diffused. And so I'm just saying that to say that historically, according to this historian that wrote the article, that this is you are correct. I mean, not that I have to validate you, but it was interesting to read the article in all.
Well, it'd be that easy. I wish it was that easy in America.
Anybody else out there? Lonnie, Jerrica?
Well, okay, go ahead, Jared.
When people try to say like the all lives matter, Black Lives Matter, all lives matter is a derivative of the Black Lives Matter movement. So was the Blue Lives Matter. And I thought about this a lot. And it's kind of baffling to me, because when people say, you know, all lives matter, no one has some sort of rebuttal. Like, just like JC said, like, we're not saying only one matters more than the other. We're just focusing on one issue right now. And when people say all lives matter, there's no rebuttal. When people say blue lives matter, no one says, no, my job matters more. Like, so it seems like the issue is the word Black. Like, that's what it seems like the issue is. Like, you don't want us to say Black Lives Matter, because there's no problem when we put any other word in front of lives matter.
Wow.
And that's how you get, and that's honestly what I've been thinking about more than anything when someone brings that up. And personally, I believe all lives do matter. Yes, I'm not taking that away from anybody. All jobs do matter. But one thing that's different from that is you can go home that day, or you can take off your badge. I can never take my skin off. I can never not be a Black woman in America. So that's the difference. And right now we're talking about this one issue, just like all of you said. We're talking about this particular issue, and to bring something else into the fold just makes it seem like you're trying to water down what we're saying. You're trying to invalidate what we're saying.
Mm.
Yeah,
I just want to acknowledge your statement as a African American woman who you stopped and just said, I think all lives do matter, but just right now we need emphasis on Black lives. And privileged people, I won't even just say privileged white people, privileged people, right, will look at you and not even want to acknowledge the fact that you're an African-American woman who has to wear her skin every day and not even pay homage where homage is due. She got on the air and her words were all lives matter. Like, you know what I mean? I don't think that we give credit in times to the African-American community for dealing with what they have to deal with and still at the end of the day saying all lives matter. Like, you're a great individual for being mature to say that. You know what I mean? Because we could sit here as African-Americans and that could not be our comment. You know what I mean? Why should it be? We're not treated fairly. Why should that be our comment? But we're decent humans. So that is the comment. You know what I mean? I think it's a reality check for people as one, you know, just what kind of person are you? What do you stand for? You know, if you, man, it's just, this topic, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Well,
Crazy.
of course, you know, it's just, again, a replica of what happened before. They wanted to be treated with human rights, you know what I'm saying? Where they were just talking about human rights. Hey, treat me like a human being, you know what I'm saying? When you stop him, oh, hey, carry on, and you stop me, you pull me out the car, and you're more than likely going to beat me. That was back in the day, right? Why? Because they can, right? Of course, now with more laws that have passed, protesting now, probable cause, and so such and such. So then for now, then to say all lives matter, you're doing it again.
Yeah.
I'm saying we're not, again, yeah, I agree. Of course, all lives matter. What? We're humans, right? But right now, the focus is the Black lives, starting when after the acquitted of Zimmerman and the Trayvon Martin case. That's actually when it, you know, originated, right after then. And it wasn't to say, you know, Black lives, only Black lives matter. No, it was like, hey, whoa. Because that wasn't even the main focus. That wasn't like, hey, we're a group now called this. It was the Trayvon Martin thing, Black Lives Matter. Then the Black Lives Matter became the focus of the movement. You know, understand? So it actually ended up turning out to be something great, which is now still continuing to be said. I have a I Can't Breathe shirt from when the first time the words I can't breathe was said. Those were sold all over. And now the same words were said again. That's not okay. Just like we're trying to say human rights, and they're saying all people have rights. No, clearly we don't. And now Black Lives Matter, all lives matter. Oh, clearly it doesn't. So it's not, it's more of the education and saying, hey, you got to stop every person that says all lives matter. Yes, I know that, it's okay. But right now, look how many cases that are recorded of Afro people death.
And just think of how many aren't
men
recorded.
To women. Huh?
I said, and just think of how many aren't recorded.
And how many aren't, and then they get body cams and the people have zero access to it. Why do you wear it then? Because even then you still get to manipulate it, just like you manipulate your job.
I'm learning a lot here today. Thank you, guys. I didn't know that at all about the body cams. I was hoping that was going to make everything so much better, but apparently not.
That's interesting because they live in Piedmont. We're coming at you guys live from Piedmont, Oklahoma right now. And my father was just telling me this morning that in Mustang or Yukon, they don't even have the body cameras on there. Why not? What are you hiding? What are you afraid of being shown or seen? You shouldn't be thinking you're going to do anything. So you should have no problem with having a camera on your chest.
Right. That's like in ours. I'm currently right now in Los Angeles, California. I am in the city of Pacoima in Los Angeles County. So therefore, the LAPD wears them. Now, another city within the county called San Fernando PD does not wear body cams. In fact, no names, but someone who is very close to me who is not an Afro, experienced police brutality because that guy could. And where was the evidence? It's the law's words against the people. Who's been winning? The law. So it's a real thing. Systematic police brutality is real.
What is the race that's at the hierarchy of the law?
White.
The white people. The white race.
Yep. Amazing. Okay, I'm going to go on to number 3.
Okay.
Have you thought about how to make this moment last and reach across all identities to dismantle the systems that perpetuate inequality and brutality? So,
Go ahead.
I know, very good one. So I mean, it's kind of like, I think there was another one later on that said, where do we go from here? But I think this goes a little more in depth because he's really interested, or she's really interested in, I actually know who this is, but anyway, so he's really interested in finding out, how do we, so it seems like the vast majority of Americans are recognizing that there's vast injustice going on here.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we keep the momentum of the movement so that things actually change and these systems are broken down and done away with?
Do you want me to go first? We actually had this conversation, me, Jerrica, and Lonnie, and I have written down, and we all voiced this opinion, so I'm speaking for us three when I bring this up. One thing that we thought would be a solution moving forward, right? And it's an interesting fact as well. And they may be able to tell you the numbers statistically better than I can. But I think it takes like a hairdresser a shorter amount of time a barber to become a barber, a shorter amount of time than it takes a police officer to become a police officer.
Yeah, it's more time to be a barber.
All the time, yeah.
That's a problem. So let's start there. We'll start there, shall we? Right? So I think in what we've discussed, we're implementing things of the psychology nature. Knowing a human better. Your job is to literally unify, keep peace, protect, and you guys are doing the exact opposite of that, the police system, right? So we need to start with the change there, in my opinion. I think that's where change needs to be initiated, because they are supposed to protect us, and I don't feel protected. If I'm in a situation, I'm not going to call the police because I'm afraid they're going to turn the situation around on me. Yeah. I have to defend for my own self. So until I feel confident enough to pick up the phone and call 911, there's got to be a lot of change within the police departments. I mean, for example, we can bring up the George Floyd case, right? The officer, I don't even want to say his name. I don't even want his name coming out of my mouth. That's how disrespected I feel from the man. This man had 18 complaints before he killed a man. 18 complaints? The police department should be disgusted that they let a man with 18 complaints stay there to save, protect, and bring peace to an area or a situation. That is a shame on their part. And the fact that the police system has faith in someone who has 18 complaints to protect all lives? Come on now. Somebody in that police department saving him and allowing him to stay there. And they want him there for a reason. And that's why after the third complaint, he didn't get booted out of there. The things have to start within the system. The system has to change. It has to. That's ridiculous that a barber can become a barber before a police officer can become a police officer.
The other way.
Yeah.
The other way around.
Yeah, okay, around.
Know what you meant. Yeah.
I don't know exactly what I mean.
Gotcha. Not a lot. Gotcha. To add, to dismantle it, people have to take the accountability to therefore hold somebody else responsible, right? To say and use their voice. If you know that if something's wrong, it's wrong, okay? And you used to sit there knowing that you won't get in trouble like that, but you don't speak up to be like, hey man, quit that. Just like you would as if they were messing with you. So them same people that act all out when they're being messed with, you have to go now defend them. Get a camera out and talk your talk, right? To get the police to now not take any step ahead. He's on camera. Because already his camera, I don't even know why they wear it. So how to dismantle and carry this movement, to carry the next step of what exactly that the Afro people need is all about speaking up and educating the next person next to you. And when you educate, accept it, because that's exactly we're saying exactly what's happening. So you have to accept it. We're not making this up. We didn't go to sleep and plan a story of all this back history. We're telling you what has happened, and we need you to hear us. So in order for a movement to continue, in order for change to happen, you have to hear, understand, and now let's do action.
Exactly.
And I mean, we have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. Even after the hashtags go away and the trend stops, you have to continue having these type of conversations. We have to continue calling out our friends, our family on things that we know are wrong. We have to continue pushing for the next person and not just my one self. Because if we really believe that all lives matter, we will continue this even after the Black Lives Matter hashtags go away. We want to continue fighting for African Americans even 2-3 months down the road when something else happens in the United States and that has our attention. We want to keep pushing for it and keep educating ourselves, because that's the only way to dismantle and like stop inequality. And it sounds so far-fetched to even say like ending inequality in the United States. Like my mind can't grasp that at all. Like I don't see a time where that is, but that doesn't mean I'm going to stop fighting for it. That's not going to mean I'm going to stop fighting for my little brothers and my little sisters and my cousins and my future children. Like I want a better life for them.
I'm not going to interrupt you. Go ahead.
I was going to say, so me and my mom were having this conversation yesterday, and to clarify, my mom is half white and half Native American. She's not even Black or anything, but she has a human decency to know what's right and what's wrong. So we were talking about what's happening in our world today, and she brought it back to, well, if you want to change today, you have to go back to this all the way back then when the U.S. Constitution was made. It was made by nothing but white men. No Black person, no women, no nothing were included in that. It was nothing but white men that made a constitution that has all these things. So if you want something to change, you have to have other people's input. You have to have diversity in their input in it for something to change today. So if that's going to stay the same, then nothing's going to be different, because it wasn't made for today's society, for all the people that we have today, for women, for African American people, for Mexican people, natives, anything.
It wasn't made for Native Americans then either. It was taken away from Native Americans back then and cultivated to what they wanted it to be. But to second what she's talking about, I find that interesting. I think back to the original question, to initiate change, right? To see this continue, I think it's going to take people to feel uncomfortable to the max. And I'm not just saying, hey, I don't think you should approach them like that. I mean, if you are a celebrity and you have an opportunity to have a concert at an auditorium that is owned by someone who you've heard a situation go down in a racial way, then you don't sign that contract as an African-American rapper, as a Mexican rapper, a Native American rapper, whatever you are. You just don't even need to be associated with that, because they don't stand for what's right. I think things are going to have to be implemented like that. Things that can make millions and millions of dollars are going to have to be not opportunities anymore for change to really be ignited. For someone to say, wow, they turned down a $1.2 billion whatever deal because they don't agree with the owner of that facility. Man, like things are going to change. Until that happens, we're going to keep repeating the same cycle that my people as Native Americans have had to go through, that my other people as Blacks have had to go through. And it's just going to continue and continue and continue until we truly put a stop to it. And like we mentioned, you're listening to people who are Caucasian as well, who are around a Caucasian family and see the way they think. And we've had uncomfortable conversations with our own family. And if they choose to take a step away or go in another direction, then you know what? That's fine. I'm not losing nothing, because I'm still going to stand for what's right. And I don't think until those things, not just on the smaller platforms, because, let's be honest, how many viewers know any of us on here? You know what I mean? I'm just blessed to have the opportunity to speak for my people. But unless Chris Brown and Kyrie Irving, unless these people with those large platforms take the opportunity to speak up for those things, a lot's not going to get hurt. But we're not going to stop in the meantime of that either. You know what I mean?
Yes, we know what you mean. Never stop. Don't stop. No, I mean, it's like, I think I'm just going to interject as fast as I can. One of the things we discovered in the coronavirus is that the everyday average person is important. The people that had these jobs that we don't pay a lot of money to, none of us would have survived without them. So and the only way we average, people get a voice is when we work together, when we speak together. Okay, back to you. Sorry.
You're good. Did you want to say something? Oh. I think we might have been going into the next question, Maddi.
Okay. Let me see. Question 4. Now that the seriousness of the problem has been acknowledged, where do we go from here? That is sort of related.
Yeah, for sure.
But there's a 2-part question because underneath it says reconciliation, new laws.
Well, it just brings it back. Mend, and with the mending, voices are now louder. New laws can now. Linwood. He put in the 13th and the 14th and the 15th amendment, right? If I'm correct. To abolish the slave, and more human rights at the time. Linwood had put that into effect. So, now reconciliation. That is the key word. Oh wow, you know what I'm saying? And the new laws will come with the reconciliation because it's so many people, and if this happened nationwide, it is still kind of international.
Mm-hmm.
This situation is international. So like I had told somebody else, their backs are against the wall no matter how superior you think you are. You have to make a change. So the reconciliation, it's happening right now.
Wonderful. And I just wanted to add to, your ideas about changing the police. Well, being an old person, we have been talking about making sure police have bachelor's degrees, making sure they're paid well, making sure that we've been talking about this for a long time, like 40 years. I remember back when I was younger, people talking about, the policemen in Great Britain don't carry guns. They carry, can we translate that to our police force? This conversation about how to change the police force has been going on in my lifetime, I would say a good 40 years. So it's about time.
Right.
Yeah.
I find I think it's funny that reconciliation is mentioned because speaking on behalf of my Native American people, we have reconciled multiple times and nothing positive has came out of it. We either get mistreated in a different way or they choose to hide certain things from us when making new laws or whatever. So like I said, I think the friendly coming together can come after change is initiated. I don't think it's reconciliation. Oh, let's all agree to all lives matter and then let's talk about this topic. I think, no, let's acknowledge what is going on. And then after we can talk about the side of reconciliation and just not being so aggressive or coming off with an aggressive demeanor. But until we're heard, I don't think it's time to sit and be nice. I think it's time to be boisterous and loud in a respectable, knowledgeable manner, but loud to where we are heard. You know what I mean? If that makes sense.
Yeah, to Jayden's point, reconciliation, of course, is the ultimate goal, but we need change, and by change is laws. And I feel like it shouldn't have taken all of this to open my eyes about how important for not just the white community, but all communities to become educated, get out and vote, especially young people. It is so important for us to vote. And I'm not talking presidential elections. I'm talking your state representatives, your senators, like all of those people, all of those elections, those little elections, those that build up to big elections. We need to be voting in those. The people who have direct impact on our communities, the people who understand what it is to be from Anadarko or from California. Like, we need to have those people. We need to get out and vote for them. Like, that's the only way we're going to see change, because we need those people who understand our experiences to speak and fight on our behalf. We can't expect laws to be changed that benefit us, and people don't even know what we're going through. They can't even understand what we need to be changed, you know? And that's what's so important. And I hate that it took a massive and huge event like this, or the Black Lives Matter movement, to even occur for it to become so important for young people to understand that they need to vote and how important voting is, and to be educated on what's going on in the world and in your neighborhood around you.
You know, it's so crazy, Jerry Bear. The school systems.
Go ahead.
Jerrica, I'm sorry. I just called her by her nickname, guys. I'm sorry. Okay.
That's all right.
The school systems that inform the younger generation of stuff would rather spend more time about irrelevancy and things that are not going to help the kids in the future for success. And I mean, we could go off on a whole nother podcast about this.
Yes,
I know that you feel strongly about the public school system versus the private school system and stuff. But if you take a step back and you look at what they're teaching us, they're not teaching us what you just said, Jerrica, to be educated at a young age about to be proactive about what's going on in your hometown, in your areas, right? And that's why nothing never changes, because we don't educate the young kids on the important things. We rather than be distracted throughout their whole life until they're 24 years old and the world is where it is today, right? And you're like, dang, I have to figure it out. How are you supposed to know that's the way you're supposed to go about it if the education system doesn't give you that opportunity? But again, who's the highest at the top of the poll for the education system? Who's doing this stuff? Who's writing up the things and the laws and passing them? White privileged people.
There are 11 elite private schools in the country, from which 2/3 of all presidential candidates have come. The 11 elite private schools, even in good public schools, our curriculum does not look like theirs. And the number one thing that these kids have to demonstrate in order to graduate is not grades, it's that they have a knowledge of how to access the government. I can tell you from being a political, at one time, a long, long time ago, I did political advocacy. And I was told by a senator that if you don't vote and you write a letter, it goes in the trash. So they don't know who you voted for. But if they get an email nowadays from you and they look back, they can see if you voted. If you voted, they're going to read your letter. If you didn't vote it, delete. It's gone. So if you didn't vote. So it almost, I mean, of course it matters who you vote for. You should vote your conscience, but vote is exactly right. And especially like Jerrica said, local elections are extremely important because that's the place where you are most affected. If you did not vote in your local elections, they look back, oh, she didn't vote. We're not listening to her letter.
Right.
Well, definitely get out there and vote for your city councils and stuff like that.
Absolutely. That's where the initial change is going to happen. That's where the laws are going to change. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So number 5, you put it number 5. Do you see a time when we truly will be colorblind and we will only see one race, the human race? What do you think it would take to get there? I do think you guys have been answering that, but go ahead if you have more thoughts.
This question actually came up in one of my classes in school this past year. And honestly, I don't think we should exactly be colorblind. I should see you for who you are, Because when people say they don't see color, it's kind of like a slap in the face, because I am Black and I want you to love everything about me that comes with me. I want to be able to see Lonnie and see the Black in him. I want to be able to see how he's Hispanic. I look at Jayden and I see her Native American side. I see how she's African American. I see how she's also white. And I love her for all of those things. I don't want to be colorblind and not see people. I want you to see me for who I am, accept me for who I am, and love me regardless. And I feel like that's where we need to get to. And I do believe that we can get there. It's possible. It's just, if we want that change ourselves, like, you have to change who you are.
I think me and Lonnie are examples that it can happen. I mean, how do you think we were created to be mixed if it didn't happen? You know, I think it takes a certain type of individual to stand for just basic human decency. Like she mentioned, our mother, being Caucasian and Native American, chose to love an African American, Native American man for who he is, the environment that he had to grow up in. Unfortunately, whether it was a fortunate environment or a not so fortunate environment, she loved him for who he was, no matter what the color of his skin was. And like Jerrica said, she recognized that, though. I think that's important, to recognize the color. Like, why would you want to say you want, like, everybody be colorblind? Like, no, I want to be known that I'm Native. I'm proud to be Native. I want to be known that I'm African American. I'm proud to be African American. And I'm Caucasian. And I'm proud of that, too, for the people that I was able to be raised around, because they are people who have human decency. There's other Caucasians out there who have the opportunity of this thing called privilege, who choose not to see that. And that's a problem. So until they choose to see the color, acknowledge the color, and love the color unconditionally, there's not going to be any change. But I think we're examples that it can happen.
And I think it's crazy just because people are just so quick to judge all three of us. When I walk into the store, people just think I'm white. When she walks in, they think she's mixed or just Black. And when she walks in, she thinks she's Mexican. And my dad has had this issue before. When he got pulled over by a police officer, they checked the black box because he looks Black, but he's just as much Native American as he is Black. And my mom was mad. She was mad that the officer was quick to judge him that he's just Black, because he's not. And for people in Piedmont, they don't think I'm Black, or they don't think I'm Native American just because I'm so white complected. And my grandma Cindy, she is a full-blooded Native American woman, and she's light complected just like me, just as white as I am, if not lighter. So it's crazy how people are so quick to judge, but I don't think we should be judged, obviously not, but we don't need to be colorblind and recognize what we are too.
I think I would like to replace the word colorblind and switch the sentence of, like, when do you think that we would be culturally accepting towards others? You know what I'm saying? That's really what it's about. My culture is not the one to live by, you know what I'm saying? Like, no, you're this, you're from this nation, it's your culture. I accept it, I see it. Hey, I like it. You know about mine? Oh, hey, I like it. And then there's peacefulness right there. But if you're gonna sit there and downgrade somebody else's culture, you can't do that. You know, you just can't. You know, that's part of the acceptance, and that's what's going to carry it farther than looking at colors. It's not a color, it's their culture. So I think I would like to say people need to become more culturally aware of everything around them.
I like you bringing culture in there because I feel like there are a lot of people who are Caucasian, and they'll go to Mexican restaurants and eat. They'll you bring your culture into it. They'll eat at Mexican restaurants. They're going to wear what natives wear to feel that. But then when it comes down to it, you're not going to represent them. You're not going to see them, and you just let it go. But when it's, what's the word? When it's convenient for you, you'll do it.
Yeah, because I can tell you, I've had in my lifetime, and I went to pursue my master's degree, for those of you who don't know who I am and how far I've been. But I'm saying this because you don't know how many teachers, professors I've had that are 100% Caucasian, that when we bring up something positive about a Native American, they want to say, oh, I'm 1/3 Cherokee. Oh, I'm a 4th. But when we was talking about us being mistreated, where was your 1/4 Cherokee? where were you? Why didn't you stick up? Caucasians want to be involved when it's convenient for them. And when they want to be, I don't know what they want. I don't get it. Like, why would you speak on something that you're not, you know?
So guys, we have about 4 minutes. Like I said, you can all come back on again if you decide you want to, but we got 4 minutes. So I just want to turn it to you to say any last words rather than go to another question in case anybody has last words or last thoughts.
Y'all know I definitely have something. So if y'all do, y'all go ahead first.
I just want to say thank you, Maddi, for giving us the opportunity to get on here and speak. And thank you, Jayden, for reaching out and asking. This is a topic that needs to be discussed and needs to continue. So let's not let it stop here. Go out. If you're listening, go out into your communities. Have this conversation with your friends and your family. Keep pushing it because we need you.
We need you. You're being asked to come and help, literally.
Yeah, definitely. My last thing I'll say is we definitely do come together. We need to make our surroundings feel uncomfortable to understand. We as the Afro community are not looking for revenge. We're looking for equality. So, you know, it's a totally different thing. Like, it's a very, very different.
Blessed that's what Afros are looking for.
Yes, definitely, because what everybody will be stereotypically saying, it would actually be that. But there's a lot of peaceful people, you know, walking the streets, wanting new laws, just wanting stuff to be done. We want effective change with our voices. We are not doing a revolution like all y'all have. And you can't say revolution without shedding blood. We're trying to make a revolution with our voice. We're trying to make history. We will be the first to make revolution with a voice and not bloodshed. So therefore, let's start with that. And if everybody can get on that topic of making a revolution with your voice and not blood and violence and stuff like that, it is far more effective. And I'm not saying that you cannot stand your ground, because you are supposed to stand your ground. But let's get educated, let's get in them books, and let's use our voice.
I like to say thank y'all, everyone, Lonnie, Jerrica, Aunt Maddi, Jay, for letting me and Sage come on here. You know, we're the younger generation, and this is what we're seeing. This is what we're bringing. We're seeing this for the first time. And I was asked by a college professor last week, like, what do you think this is? And my 17 years of education, that's the first time I've ever had a teacher ask me, what are we doing? What does our world look like? How are y'all learning and educating yourself about that? So that was eye-opening. Like, my education, we skip past the Native, we skip past the Black, like we go on to, you know, the Constitution stuff, letting white people pick things. And I just like to thank y'all. I got to voice my input, and I'll continue to educate myself, speak out, be proud of everything I am. So I thank y'all for that.
Yes, Lonnie.
Oh, sorry, real quick. I just wanted to give my thanks, you know, real quick before this ends. You know, it's great talking with y'all ladies, great queens right here. Y'all don't even understand. You guys have to continue to educate the young, the right nows, and the ones that's already experienced other things, you know what I'm saying? So thank you, Jayden. Thank you, young ladies. Thank you, Jerrica. And thank you, Maddi.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you all for coming on and being so honest. I really appreciate it. I hope you'll come back. And to all of you listening out there, go out there. Listen.
Real quick.
Oh, sorry, Jayden.
No, it's okay. We just have to go. Okay, so I was just going to say thank you for having us on. And for everyone that's listening, don't just make a change tomorrow just because you listen to us today. Make a change, not just next week, for the month. Take it out and through your whole experience in life, however long you live, just make sure you treat people good no matter what the color of their skin, and take this and grow with it and keep growing and keep getting educated like that. So thank you for having me on.
Well, those were beautiful closing words. So I hope you all listening and watching take those closing words to heart. And we will see you again soon next week. Hopefully our panel will be back again at some point. And I love you all as always, and I love all of you. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you, Bobby. Thank you, my producer, Bobby Lacera, and everybody at Strong Island Radio and Strong Island Entertainment for giving us this opportunity. Thank you. And have a wonderful, wonderful, go do something. Go out there, help.
Yes, definitely.